Hello YouTubers, this is my very first video on YouTube and I'm having all kinds of technical difficulties and this video may end up lagging a little bit, but I'll try to reset it every once in a while so that things stay in sync. I want to show you in this video how the Helix Nebula, often referred to as the Eye of God, had an alignment with an eye on planet Earth, a natural phenomenon, and it may have some deep meanings in it. If you go to Wikipedia and type in Helix Nebula, this is the page that will come up. One thing I find interesting about what is referred to as the Eye of God is that it's 700 light years away, or about 700 light years away. And we know that the number 7 is significant in the scriptures. It was discovered around 1824. Here it says probably before 1824. But I'm sure it wasn't discovered in the 1700s. And I'll tell you why that's important later. It has a radius of about 2.87 light years across. Right here. And the natural colors are like this. This is infrared. It's still false colors, but it's made to look natural. It has a cross-section about the size of the moon. So if you were to look up in the sky, set the moon next to it, the moon would be about the same size optically. Obviously, the moon's not 2.87 light years across, but the Helix Nebula is so far away, it would look about the size of the moon. You can't see it though because it's too dim, and so you would need to have a long exposure time to gather enough light to actually see it. So anyways, take a good look at this website, or I mean this web page, or other websites, and learn what you can about it. This program's called Stellarium. It's a free computer program, or free software you can download off the internet. It's a planetarium type program that shows you where the stars are and the planets and nebulas and things like that. And you can set the date and time for the night skies and figure out, or the day skies even for that matter, and figure out where things were located at different times. I have the time and date set up for 1723 October 4th. This was the year that the Freemasons wrote up their Constitution, the Anderson's Constitution, or that it was published. If you look at the angle of the Helix Nebula, it's at a negative 22 degrees, 11 minutes, and 46 seconds. As years change, that number will change. Look at this number up here. I'll flip the numbers, the years, and as years change, we have what is called precession. The Earth's spin on its axis is wobbling, and it goes through a full wobble every 26,000 years. This video here is off of YouTube. It's called Earth's Orientation, and what it does is it shows how the Earth wobbles. It shows the natural tilt that gives us our seasons as the Earth goes around the Sun, but that tilt is also wobbling. And it goes through, like I said earlier, a 26,000 year cycle. And it gives you different reference points to look at, and quite frankly it makes me dizzy. But it does show you that the Earth is wobbling, and that's important when we look at where the Helix Nebula was lined up with Earth in 1723, because that's going to correspond to an eye on the ground. So I'll let this play out for about another minute or so, and then I'll move on to the Google Earth pictures. Actually, before I go to the Google Earth pictures, I wanted to show you the orientation of how this is going to line up. I'm in Stellarium still. I've turned the constellations on, and we're standing on the moon in this view, and we're looking at the planet Earth over here. And the location we're interested in is right over here in Mexico. If we were to draw a line through the center of the Earth from Mexico here, and notice the date, this is October 4th, 1723, it's about noon, and you were to draw a line from Mexico straight through the center of the Earth, continue that line out, go through Taurus's neck, through his knee, so we're going right through his neck, through his knee. You come right over here to Aquarius. Over here in Aquarius, let me get zoomed in a little better here, guys, is the eye of God, the all-seeing eye. So this will give you a basic orientation of how this is working. Of course, the moon's on its side because we're looking at the horizon. And I set it up that way so you can see it a little better. If I turn it up right, it looks like that. But anyway, so the Earth is up here, and the all-seeing eye, or God, the eye of God, excuse me, the eye of God is out here. And the Helix Nebula, and it comes in at an angle. Oops, sorry. Comes in at an angle. You remember, it came up through the knee, or actually shin, through the neck. And when you go through the center of the Earth, they'll come up in the Mexico area. Okay. This doesn't change very much all year long because the Earth is basically tilted in the same direction as it goes around the Sun. From this perspective, though, you can see it better. If I were to back it up in time, you would think it's changing angles, but it's really not very much, because you have to remember we're relatively close to the Earth, and the Earth is going to get between us when we're on the moon, and the Earth is going to go between us and the Helix Nebula, so it's going to seem like it's changing angles, but when we're only concerned about where the Earth is and where the Helix Nebula is, and has nothing to do with our position, you got to remember this is 700 light years away, and the Earth is always pointed, the North Pole is pretty much pointed at Polaris. So since the stars are so far away, these angles really don't change much. They do change slowly over hundreds of years, a full wobble in 26,000 years. But I'm going to back it up so you can just kind of see what it looks like here. I'll back up a day or two. Okay, and remember, the moon doesn't rotate very fast. It only rotates about once a month. So, okay, so there goes the Earth over the Helix Nebula. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can kind of, see it a little better here. And the reason I'm doing this is it kind of shows you as the Earth turns, this would line up once a day. Yes, it doesn't look like it's lining up from this perspective, but it is, because our position doesn't matter. So you can just see how the Earth rotates and it lines up. Okay, so the day of interest, where it lines up the best when the progression hits right in the middle of the eye on the ground, is October 4th. Now let's go look at the eye on the ground. Okay, now we're in Google Earth, and if you remember, the latitude or the declination in Stellarium of the Helix Nebula was negative 22 degrees, 11 minutes and 46 seconds. I've done further narrowing down of it, but for casual sakes, here's the number: 22 degrees, 11 minutes, 46 seconds. South. That's how you would measure them south. If you were right here in a boat in the Indian Ocean and looked straight up in 1723, directly above your head, the zenith point would be the Helix Nebula. So that's the opposite side of the Earth. And it's south of India. And just so happens there's some other interesting information up here, and I can get to it later. But let's go to the other side of the Earth, go across the center of the Earth, and end up in the northern hemisphere. We're going from the southern hemisphere to the northern hemisphere, straight to the Earth. And we're coming out over here in Mexico. Okay, give me a second here. I'll try to make this a little easier to see. Okay, there's the eye. Okay. And these little blue dots, I've got them shifted off to the left a little bit. They're not quite exactly lined up like they should be. Show you where the Helix Nebula would have lined up at different times. And January 1st, 1715, it would have been here. 1716, it would have been here. And on down and so forth. So every year it moved about this, the alignment moved about this much as the Earth wobbled through precession. And in 1723, we started up here. I don't know why I have two labels up there. That's something goofy. Oh, that's the 17th. I was looking in 117, 1723. I don't know why. Remember, found this information out a long time ago, and I forget so much of what I've discovered. But anyway, so January 1st, 1773, it was here, and in 17 days later, it moved down a little bit more. And so as the Earth spins, once a day, it'll line up on this north-south line with the center of the eye. The eye is about a half mile across. If we were to measure from here to over here, we're looking at about 0.48 miles. So it's about half a mile across. It's formed by tree lines, or a tree line, and in 1723, when the Freemasons wrote up their, or published their Constitution, it was right here. No, actually 1723, the whole year was from about here to here. So the latter part of the year, it was right in the middle. My best estimate would be is centered in October 4th. If you want to look at how the trees are made, I mean, there are some fence lines here. But out here, there's no fence line. There's no fence line. There's one going along here. But these are trees, you know, so this is a big wide area of bushes. And up here, there certainly is no, I don't see any fence lines or anything there. And it seems to be just a natural phenomenon. You can see some banding here of trees. Just maybe the way the geology works with the water and the way the wind blows with the whatever. So let's take a look at this from a different perspective now. I'll turn off the grid so we can see it a little better. We'll leave those on. Okay. You ever see this image? The eye on top of the pyramid? Let's see if we can turn it on. I'll just turn everything on. Boom. Okay, so if you look at there's sort of a pyramid there. Sort of looks like what you see on the back of your dollar bill. This is another line here on the left. And then there's sort of a color you know, from right here to right here, the color changes. Definitely some lines going through here. So it kind of looks like an eye on top of the pyramid. Guys out there is when I originally was looking, I found the eye was I was plotting eclipses, and I was interested in solar eclipses, and I came across the eye that way. Let's see if I can put it on here. Okay. I was looking at an eclipse in March 30th, 2052, and I was trying to figure out how big an area would be covered up by this the shadow of the moon, and so how much area would actually be blacked out. And I ended up plotting a line out this way and out that way, and when I ended up getting to the end of this line, I was shocked by what I saw, and that's how I discovered the eye. It was right on the edge of the eclipse, of the eclipse shadow. That's how I was plotting. And so I thought, well, what's on the other side? And so I come over here, and you see a shin, or a sin. This is the Hebrew letters, the 21st letter of the Hebrew alphabet. It's also in the word Yeshua, which is Hebrew for Jesus. And I'd like to put a little overlay on that for you so you can see it. Of course, I lost it. I've got so much stuff going on in here, guys. It'd take me years to explain it all. Maybe I'll find it in a little bit, but let me go to something else here. In the book of Genesis, chapter 3, after the fall of Adam and Eve, the Lord is cursing the serpent, and he says, And I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed, and he shall bruise you on the head, and you shall bruise him on the heel. So Yeshua was going to bruise who on the head? The serpent, and the serpent was going to bruise Yeshua on the heel. Well, I thought that was interesting because this is the eye that would represent the head of, well, a lot of people would call New World Order system. I mean, we find it all over the place in symbolism with New World Order stuff, and Freemasons and whatnot. And right in here, if you look in here, you'll find another pyramid. Except there's a difference with this pyramid. Hold up the right one. Oh, my computer's crashing. I hate it when it does this. I've lost it. Okay, well, here's the word. And while you gotta get that and read about that as 21st letters, shin or sin. I'm gonna try to get Google Earth to come back up for me. This website that I was at was Hebrew for Christians. Made a better computer. This thing is just an old. I'm running Windows XP on the thing. It is really old. This computer just can't quite handle all this data anymore. Okay, so if we go back in here. Alrighty. So the lake makes kind of it looks like the letter shin. And let's see if we can get the picture up. There you go. There's your pyramid, guys. And who's on top of it? Whoops. Whose head's getting bruised and whose heel's getting bruised. This is in Mexico. It's a picture or a statue of Jesus, obviously, and his body's been broken. He broke the bread. The bread was his body. I found that was very interesting that it was located on an island here in a lake that looks like a shin or sin. What became sin for us? Jesus did. Let's take a look here. I think I found it. There you go. So you can see there's Jesus, Yeshua. I can make that a little darker for you so you can see how it works. That letter also means 300. So if anybody comes up with something there, that'd be interesting. So that was at the end of the eclipse on the right, and the Freemason eye is on the left. This also lines up with the eye of the Helix Nebula.